What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to wire in some gauges. We've got the boost gauge, we've got the oil temp gauge and our pressure gauge. So it's quite a simple thing. The chemical instructions with these are stepper motor gauges. I think they're RS spec or something, sold them to me in the UK. Yeah, really good. You can get them in different colours. And you get all the solenoid and everything with it for the pressure and the temp sensor. And you also get the wiring and everything and the loom, and they've got a little patch wire so you only have to find the power and everything once. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video guys, and we'll get into it. We are returning the factory location for the oil pressure for the dash as well. So we're going to have the warning light on the dash still with this factory oil pressure switch. That's going to remain exactly the same, just as a failsafe. And then on top of that, we're having an oil pressure gauge with a warning light. And we're having a oil temp gauge, again with a warning light. They're both going to come out of the remote filter housing, which I'll show you here. So you can see they're both going now. Took the filter off to do this. That's probably advised to make sure your remote housing is big enough and deep enough for the temp sensor, and to make sure there's no blockages or anything like that from these. Sometimes you get crap. So we put the remote filter housing over there before, as you saw before with the inlines. So I took it off. You don't lose much really, just a little tub, but fine. And then as you can see there, inside, they fit fine with plenty of room. You always want your temp to be running through oil rather than just touching oil. You don't want it touching anything on the block either, because it's just going to heat soak the temperature out of the block. So when finding your different powers, your wires, your lives and everything like that, you need to make sure you got a multimeter set up and go through it properly. So what I did was, cigarette lighters are always a great thing, lives and things like that. There's no ignition live on this car to the cigarette lighter because it's always live. So we've got the 12 volt from there, we got the dimmer from there for the light from the little bulb that goes on the cigarette lighter. That's the 12 volt power, and that's the ground. And then, as I say, we got the ignition live from the radio, because the radio's ignition live, the cigarette light's not. So we just spliced into it, put a T-piece on, little spade connectors. Some people don't like to use these. I've never had a problem with them. I always get the insulated ones, make a good crimp, and it's easy as that. Tidy your wires up. So that's the wiring done on the car. All the sensors fit in the oil remote housing, and as you saw, the wiring inside. Use the multimeter just to check where your lives are and everything. But I always find the cigarette lighter and the radio the best place to do it inside. Use a bulb for your dimmer light as well. Obviously we did wire the boost gauge in as well, so I'll show you that now. So with this boost gauge, all you need to do is just take a little crimp off of a T on your inlet manifold. That reads your vacuum or your boost through your inlet manifold. Never seen it before, but it came with a filter with this one, and it told us to use it, so we did. Maybe it's just to stop moisture getting into the electronics, because we actually run a wire into the car through the bulkhead, and this little module here reads the boost for your gauge, so you don't have to run a vacuum wire all the way into your actual car. You can just run a wire in there. Obviously stops this getting rubbed. We're going to bracket this up just to keep it flapping around, but that's all we did. Nice and close there on the top of the brake pipe mount, and then run the wire straight through to the bulkhead where they all go through there. We've obviously wired in the 3 gauges there for the oil temp, the oil pressure and the boost gauge there as well, but we're also putting in a boost controller. We went with a Go Fast Bits one. It does boost controller as AFR included, so it's got the lean cut and the overboost cut. So we thought it was a good setup for our setup. We're going to be getting it with the hybrid turbo on the dyno and run it up like that. Got loads of presets. You've got a scramble button you can wire in, whether you want to go up with boost or down with boost, whatever you want to. So I'm going to mount mine here. I'm just going to make a little bracket for it. Following the instructions with this, we run, I believe it's number 2 port, which goes down to the actuator, and then number 3 port goes to the actual boost sources on the turbo there. You can see it. We've got 2 boost sources on one. It tells us as well to leave the 3rd one completely empty. So that's what we're going to do for now. It's just a case of running your wires the same way you have done through your bulkhead for the other gauges. Run them out to your solenoid and connect it up for you. It's pretty simple there. All your Go Fast Bits actual controller is all plug and play. So it's nice and easy there as well. So you just run the loom through, pop that in. You've got some little lives, same as you've done your gauges. I connect them to the exact same live and the exact same gauges because they're all fused through the car then. So we just did that. So you're supposed to be like 20 odd inches away from your actual collector or your turbo. So you need to be a bit further down so it don't foul up. So I'm going to put it in where the second lambda sensor goes on the IS200 exhaust system, because we're in the mid pipe. I'm going to put it there because then I don't have to weld a bung in and things like that. You do get a bung with it, but what's point welding one in if there's already one there? So we're going to put that in the same place and then wire it up through and into the dash. So there it is, the one we're going to use, because as you can see it's not connected to anything. And the first chance to see the exhaust wrapped there. We didn't go all the way down, we just went so far, so it's past gearbox and what have you. Gives a bit of heat out of cabin. So that's that all tightened in. Mine's preing out previously, my lambda, so that's why it came out quite easily. I put a WD-40 in, let it soak off, and then just cracked it off. Then I tightened that one up, nipped it up so the washer's squished. I'm following these wires for the reverse sensor. We're going over the gearbox so it's not hanging down. We're going to tie wrap it up, fasten it up, and then we're going to come up here and go up to the bung up there, the same way the boost controller went in. So we've run the wiring up there, through here, and then down into the bung with all the others. That then comes through the back of the dashboard, comes out where the cigarette lighter is, into the boost controller, and it's all wired up under there. Lives, negatives, switch lives, and the sensor wire is all in there as well. Okay guys, so just give you a quick explanation of what happens when you calibrate it. So you need to have the sensor out of the exhaust, wire it up, don't plug the sensor into the control on this, and then what you want to do is bring it on for about 30 to 60 seconds and it'll flash 2 red lights. Same light, just flash twice. Leave that about 30 seconds, turn all your power off, then you plug it back in to the sensor, you turn your power on, and then it'll do a little process of calibration with this little light here. So it'll go green initially and flash slowly, and then it'll flash fast when it's calibrating, and then when it goes solid lattice, it's now calibrated. So that's it guys. All you want to do then is just nip up your sensor back into your exhaust where you've put it, and then it's all ready to go and good to go. You just need to set up your GFB, which I haven't done yet, your boost controller, for the settings for the AFR. There's some instructions on how to do that. We'll have a read through them, we'll get the sensor put back in, and then we'll go down that route and get that set up as well. So we've got our AFR all wired in and on where it's going to be. We've got us gauges, so we've got oil temperature at the bottom starting to raise up, set at about 60 at the minute. Oil pressure just below 2 bar on idle, and then we've got us boost gauge at the top. Obviously it's in the vacuum at the minute, and then we've got us gauges on there, water temp, battery. The alternator's made a big difference with the charger when we've got that rebuilt, and then the water temp is not warm yet, so we're just going to bleed that through. So that's the AFR wired in, all plugged in and ready to go. We've got the boost controller plugged in, just running gate pressure because it'll go dark crisp tuning to go on the dyno, get it all set up then after we've tested it a bit. We've got a digital boost gauge plugged in as well, so that's the second backup. We've got the factory oil pressure sensor running its factory thing on the dash. We've got a primary pressure gauge with a warning light also wired in, and we've got the oil temperature gauge as well wired in. All the air lines have been run, the temperature oil thermostat has been all sorted out and are ready to go. Everything's been checked and good. We've got no oil leaks, we've got the oil baffle plate in. We've got 6 litres of 5W40 Castrol in there as well. So we're all good to go with that. We've tested it. Next video for this, we'll be driving it and testing it after we've got the bonnet painted and the other bits painted. So maybe the paint video might come out first. I don't know. See what you think guys. Drop us a like, drop us a comment, anything like that. And subscribe if you want to see more.